Hello everyone, you are about to hear a brief summary of the movie How I Became a Gangster, a True Story. Enjoy the viewing. 1977. In a typical Polish family, there was a little rascal growing up named Jan. The kid fought for money every day, and he didn't care about the size of his opponents. At 10 years old, Jan was almost expelled from school, and he realized that the most important thing in life is not getting caught. One evening, Jan saw gangsters, real masters of life, who were always loaded with cash and surrounded by beautiful women. 7 years later, a local girl suggested to Jan how he could earn his first capital. There were many women around, ready to provide intimate services for little money. The girls were especially popular with visiting Arabs, so Jan became a pimp and started earning in a day what his taxi driver father made in a month. If problems arose, Jan dealt with them using his fists. One of the clients, a thug, found a suitcase full of cash. Jan tried to steal it, but the Arabs surrounded the kid. At that moment, the crazy Pole realized that he got the most thrill in life from adrenaline and the feeling of power, so he severely beat up the newcomers. It was then that Walden saw him for the first time. In 1996, Jan was already a foreman in the gang. He had 30 people under him. Another girlfriend suggested robbing postal workers. One of the clients shared this information with her. The jackpot could amount to 2 million zlotys. Jan shared his thoughts with the authority. Maggie, who assigned the incredibly dumb guy, nicknamed Lom, to organize the robbery. I'm Lom. This is the young Lom, or Little Lom. Lom gave the team instructions. Jan and Little Lom are supposed to get weapons. The boy managed to blab to every bandit in the city what job they were going on, like to have them root for them. Thus, Jan found himself in the company of complete idiots who attacked an armored car. The whole thing took 20 seconds, but the robbery was organized by a fool, and the consequences could catch up with them at any moment. In the evening, the gang went to a pub to celebrate their successful operation. There, the hero of this story crossed paths again with Walden, who was working as a waiter. Soon after, Jan was arrested, but not for the robbery, rather for puncturing a man's lung during a recent fight with fans. In the meantime, the gang continued to indulge on the postal workers' money. As Jan had anticipated, a couple of months later, they were all caught. 24 people were arrested. The organizers received 15 years each, and the lackeys got from 3 to 7. Thanks to a fortunate turn of events, Jan served only 1.5 years, although he lost all his property. He had to start from scratch. Jan picked up that waiter he met at the tavern, and, after shaking, took Walden into his team. Jan was at the top of the organization. The main rule was not to harm women and children. Only 4 foremen had access to it, while the others did not know whom they answered to. Unlike the first team, Jan was confident in these people. Crater is an excellent techie, Golub, smart as a tank, always the first to go into battle, and Tishik, a humorist and a killer. During another robbery, Jan noticed a photograph of a pretty girl, and the next day visited the university where she studied to see her in person. After 3 years, Lomi got out of prison, although he was supposed to serve 7. He would like to work with Jan again, but the status doesn't need such friends. Bastard. Listen, leave me alone, then I won't touch you. Look at yourself, you're trash. In the bar, Jan saw Magda again and approached her, while the guard dog Valdis took care of her friend. The man was made to go home to avoid having to work for medication his whole life. On the first date, Jan, of course, didn't admit that he was the leader of a criminal group, although Magda suspects she is dealing with a gangster. Be that as it may, she gave herself to him that same night. Lomiek was offended by being called trash, so the next time he brought along a whole gang, and they brutally beat up 6 people. If he had been stuffed in the trunk, he would have been found in pieces. Jan managed to escape, and they should Bastir and then he hunted down each of those doomed men. Someone had a finger cut off. Another was forced to pleasure his body, and then a video of it was sent to his mother. Jan just urinated on another one and forced him to eat a severed finger. But he never found the crowbar. The beaten gangster went to an elderly couple and paid them a lot of money to vacate the house he liked within 2 days. By 2003, Jan had everything. Everything is just wonderful. All these years he kept searching for the crowbar. And finally, Walden reported that there was the first lead. Jan's parents have no idea what their son does. And you, son, when will you start earning? Dad suggested his son take his taxi. As a taxi driver, he can earn as much as 1,700 zlotys a month. That's how the man suggested another good idea to Jan. Now the gang uses the taxi to move a mobile group of militants. It raises much less suspicion. True. Once Jan did have to give a ride to a passenger. One day, Marian from the old gang got into Jan's car and offered a deal for 500,000 zloty. Marian invited Jan to his den. Two friends were sitting on the couch. Zika was apologizing to Daira for shooting him in the leg. After serving time, he doesn't control himself well. The brawler described the plan. They're going to kidnap the 16-year-old daughter of the owner of a poultry factory. Jan immediately shut him up. He doesn't mess with kids, that's his principle. As he was leaving, the gangster noticed that Daira had died from blood loss, so he never accepted his friend's apology. Walden is restless. He thinks it was a good deal, but he is just a performer. In the middle of the heist, Jan admitted that he was going to get married. The brothers prepared the best wedding gift for him. Type of a tied-up crowbar. Right before the ceremony, the boss and his four foremen took turns strangling the crowbar. In this way, they pledged loyalty to each other. Afterwards, the friends tossed the body into a pit, and Jan went to his bride. The gang partied all night, drank, and consumed various prohibited substances in unreal quantities. They even managed to get the priest drunk. Back then, Jan had everything. A loving family, a strong crew, and the best girl in town. The crime boss began allowing his guys to sometimes work for themselves. The main thing was that they didn't forget to give the boss 30%. Aren't you afraid he'll leave you? No, he's my guy. Another gang was going through a restructuring. Zika decided to take out Marian, but messed up with the bullets. Marian also couldn't shoot the thug because he was completely drunk. The next attempt failed because the shooters positioned themselves too far away. But you can't escape fate. Soon Marian's body was found in the river. All this time Magda tried not to think about what her husband was doing. She herself is trying to earn a living through landscape design. Wolfie Shizip Alden behaves too provocatively and always gets into trouble. Well, Jan has to constantly cover for him. Like now in the nightclub. He resembles Jan himself in his youth when he enjoyed the adrenaline rush. Daniel arrived in town, the main gangster, who you would never think is connected to crime at first glance. Daniel became interested in a promising gangster. He acts quietly, unlike the other gang of thugs who pull out guns at the slightest provocation. That's how Jan became the right hand of the most influential gangster in Poland, and his first task was to get rid of the gang that was causing too many problems. Valdin likes how everything is going. After all, back then in the club, he beat a person to death, and nothing happened to him for it. Valdin would like to take down all the gangs to remain the only power in the city. Meanwhile, the police have taken an interest in Jan, but they have nothing on him yet. The investigators suggested that Jan turn in the leaders, and they would seemingly pursue him but without consequences. Naturally, Jan refused to become a rat. I respect your work. Let's continue playing tag. Once Magda found a suitcase with money, she hopes that her husband will eventually give up his trade. During a conversation with the boss, Jan heard in the news that bandits had hijacked a truck with equipment. During the shootout, they killed 2 police officers and took a 6-year-old child hostage. 2 hours later, the boy's body was found. A severely injured Walden was brought to Jan's home. He was involved in that shootout, but he knew nothing about what happened to the child. This was a serious blunder. The police started searching the homes of all the bandits in the city. Jan was lucky that they found nothing at his place. Well, almost searching the previous owners of the house stole an ancient figurine and this was pinned on the crime boss. Upon entering the cell, Jan first cracked the head of the biggest guy. Now he will be the main one in the cell. The guard whispered to Jan that Walden had gone off the rails, so Daniel plans to eliminate him. Walden himself feels like a big shot and doesn't worry about anything. Jan asked him to back off and lay low, not to interfere with his affairs. But the thug found out about a large batch of cocaine that Daniel is expecting and wants to grab the goods. If Jan doesn't, he won't do anything. Out there, they will all shoot each other. That's why the boss bribed the guard to get in touch with his men. The bandits, in turn, found the retirees who stole that cursed figurine. The old folks admitted their guilt and left a message for the prosecutor not to interfere. So Jan ended up free and just in time, because Walden started hunting Daniel. In the literal sense of the word, the sniper only missed hitting him by accident. The boss instructed Jan to organize his security and also to find Walden, though the whole city is already on it. Right now they are interrogating his accomplice. The criminal asked Jan to shoot him, and the gangster took pity. He could find Walden without it, but it turned out to be not so easy to do. The criminal is paranoid and never leaves his hotel room. Once, he shot a spider with a pistol, scaring the concierge so much he wet his pants. Jan got to the fighter and started questioning him. Because the bandit answered quickly and honestly, Jan left, killed him without using torture. In the end, the authority found Walden at an abandoned factory. Jan took down 2 of his buddies and sat next to him. Walden didn't even know that Ian had been released. Now he promised to back off. But it was too late. Jan called Daniel and reported that the job was done. He had killed his friend. This was confirmed by Daniel's man. All that was left was to accept the delivery of 500 kilograms of cocaine, and Jan could go on vacation with 10 million zlotys. The gangster figured out that Daniel was informing the police. That's why he's been staying afloat for so long. They arrived at the port. A joyful Daniel checked the goods. Suddenly, Jan raised the alarm and pulled the boss behind the containers. The police really did raid the warehouse. Unexpectedly, Jan told the boss that he couldn't trust a rat. The main thing is friends and loyalty. Jan could become the next after Walden, so he started his own game. First, he staged a show with fake special forces, and then pretended to burn the entire shipment worth 100 million zlotys. Before disappearing, Jan rewarded each of his old pals. He departed on the ship with his wife and Walden. Jan only faked his death by giving his friend a strong sleeping pill. However, the fool panicked upon realizing they were in the middle of the sea. He demanded to be taken back to Poland. Regardless, Walden will not betray Jan. He never betrayed anyone. He even killed that child just to get rid of the tail. Those words made Jan immediately nauseous. After that, Otmorozov declared that nothing could save him anymore. He aimed the gun at his head and pulled the trigger. All of Jan's efforts were for nothing. His jerk friend still died. The story concludes in our days. Jan was eventually found and imprisoned. At the end of the visit, he asked his son to live by different rules.